What's up, everybody? I'm back again today, bringing you another comic book sort of review video. This was going to be over the Marvel Season 1 series of comics. They're not all called Season 1. Sometimes they try to come up with clever titles, but most of them have a Season 1 written on them, especially in the hardback format. I think when they started to give them different titles other than Season 1 is when they went to the softback. But I have a number of them here. I've got Hulk, Doctor Strange, Avengers, Thor, X-Men, and Wolverine. And what this line of comics is, it's a attempt to take all the origin stories of all your most beloved Marvel characters and teams and modernize them, update them for a new age. And it does a pretty good job of that. There's only two of them in here that I really was not a fan of. Wolverine, awesome. Excellent job with a good modernization of Wolverine's origin. Does it show him like getting the adamantium grafted onto his skeleton? No, it doesn't. It starts off and he's already got the adamantium on his grafted onto his skeleton, but it's still a good starting point for the character. If you've never read any Wolverine, if you're not into Marvel Comics, and Wolverine seems like a character you would like and you want to read more, this is definitely a good starting point. I can recommend it. Same thing with X-Men. Really good jumping on point for X-Men if you're new to Marvel Comics and you want to get into it. As you can see, this one's called Uncanny Origins. Wolverine was called Savage Origins. That's what I was talking about, how once they started printing in softbacks, they got to be kind of a little more clever with their titles other than just calling them all Season 1. Thor, Worthy Origins. This one I didn't like so much. Not because it's bad, but because this is a version of Thor that most people have kind of gotten away from and no one really wants to go back to. This is a version of Thor from back in the day. There was a human character named Donald Blake. And what happened was the hammer, Thor's hammer, was sent to Earth. Odin did the thing, he whispered to it, "He who should ever be worthy shall wield the power of Thor," and he hurled the hammer through the Bifrost down to Earth. And this human dude, Donald Blake, found the hammer. And whenever he picked up the hammer and channeled its power or whatever, Donald Blake, this normal human guy, would turn into Thor. It's like Thor as the real Thor, the god of thunder Thor, the Asgardian Thor. He was almost this kind of other identity kind of trapped inside the hammer, and he had to be brought, he needed a human host, a human vessel to be brought out. And Donald Blake was the guy who ended up finding the hammer and proving himself worthy, so he would turn into Thor. And that's back in the day when every character had a secret identity. This was their way to give an Asgardian god from another realm a secret identity. So I'm not really a fan of that. For me, it would have been better if it was just Thor. Does he really? Why? I don't understand why it's supposed to be a modernization of Thor's origin story. So I really don't understand why they went backwards to something that's not very relevant anymore. No one's into that. So that was one that I didn't really like. Another one was Avengers Season 1. I don't know what it's called now. It's softback, but here it's called Avengers Season 1. Like I said, these are supposed to be marketed as a modern retelling of their origins, but this is not their first outing together. In fact, when you open it up and read it, it becomes clear very early on that they've met before. They've fought together before. The Avengers this is not the story of how the Avengers formed, even though it's supposed to be. So that was another thing that made me really not like this one. And then Doctor Strange and Hulk. I'm about halfway through Hulk, not all the way through I haven't even touched Doctor Strange yet. Hulk seems very good, and I've heard very good things about Doctor Strange Season 1, which I believe in paperback, softback form is called Strange Origins. I've heard good things about him, this one, and this one's pretty good so far. I'm about halfway through it. So overall, we got 6 of these here. 4 out of the 6 are really good. I recommend them. So that's not bad. That's not a bad track record, I don't think. I'm very interested to read the Spider-Man one. There is a Spider-Man Season 1 graphic novel that retells a modernized version of his origin story, and I'm interested to see what that's like, because for me, I found my definitive comic book take on Spider-Man's origin story a long time ago, and that was Ultimate Spider-Man. A lot of people nowadays, when they think of Ultimate Spider-Man, their mind immediately goes to Miles Morales, but anyone who's been following this stuff for a while will know when the Ultimate Universe kicked off, it was Peter Parker as Spider-Man. Eventually, in the Ultimate Comics, Peter Parker died and Miles Morales took over. But it was Peter Parker originally, and that's my ideal take on, like, the Peter Parker Spider-Man, and in a modernized way. Like, nothing's ever going to truly replace those classic stories, like the Ditko Spider-Man era, but I don't know, the Marvel Comics, there's just something about it. Fun fact, also, it's estimated that Ultimate Spider-Man #1, a first edition copy of Ultimate Spider-Man #1, is going to be one of the comic books of our era that ends up being worth a lot of money later on down the road. So any of you guys that has one of those, keep track of it. But anyway, yeah, that's my take on these. This is kind of Marvel's answer to the DC Earth 1 comic book line, but whereas DC Earth 1 is trying to be this continuous story, it's a new Earth, it's a new alternate reality. You know, it's not just a one-shot comic book where here we're telling new versions of the origin. It's its own thing. Like, there is a Superman Earth 1 Volume 1, and then there's also Volume 2 and 3. Batman has a Volume 2. Wonder Woman has a Volume 2. Teen Titans has a Volume 2. Wonder Woman might even have a Volume 3, I'm not sure. This is all just origin stories. Like, once you're done with this, you're supposed to move on to other stuff. But because these are not going to continue. This is just modernized retellings of origin stories. And as far as those go, they do a pretty good job. Like I said, just those 2 complaints with Thor and Avengers. But other than that, very good. I do recommend it, especially if you're someone who's never been into Marvel comics and you want to read some comics and you kind of want a good jumping off point. This is a good jumping off point. These season 1, or it seems in softback, they all seem to have a theme with origins. Like X-Men is called Uncanny Origins, Wolverine's called Savage Origins, and Thor is called Worthy Origins. So in the softback form, it's the Origins line, and in the hardback form, it's season 1. So the name change makes things kind of confusing, but fuck it. But anyway, yeah, I do recommend these. If you see these in a local store and you're looking to kind of get into Marvel, this is a good place to start. I highly recommend picking them up. So yeah, take that for what you will. Anyone else who's ever sampled any of the Marvel Season 1 or Origins line of graphic novels, leave a comment below. Let's get some more opinions here on what other people think about them, whether you recommend them or not. Other than that, check out some of my other videos and please subscribe to my channel. And I will see you guys next time.